Hello everyone, welcome back to the fourth part of Paging Tree tutorial. This part is a bonus part. By the way, you don't have to see the previous episodes to follow along. In this part, we will follow the principle of single source of truth, which means that the only source that will feed our view model with data is only one source. Depending on your use case, it could be a remote or local data source. In our case, it will be a local database as cache and behind the scenes from an API call. So the function that we will build today, it will coordinate between saving the data to a local database and doing an API call or performing an API call. Let's be clear about this. I'm not the one who has built this function. I didn't come up with this function. I can't remember the author of the article who has developed this function, but I'm going to do the best of my abilities to share it with you guys and try to explain it as you can understand the implementation of this function. So inside the helper class, helper.kt, we'll create a function that will do this task for us. So first of all, it's going to be an inline function. So inline function will enhance the execution of any lambda functions. So that's why I'm going to use inline function, and it has two parameters or generic types. The first one, which is result. So the result will represent the database results. The request consists of the API request. The name of the function is network bound resource, and let's open the parentheses. So the first parameter that this function will accept is a database query. So this is the database query to be performed, and this database query will give us a flow of some results. And the result comes from, of course, the database. Let's import flow. And here we have to add a new keyword called cross inline. The cross inline will allow us to benefit from inline functions, the use of inline functions, but we can't benefit from non-local returns call sites in a lambda function. Because if you want to perform an early exit from any lambda function, you will use, for example, the syntax return at the label, but not the null return, not this kind of syntax. So this is the definition of a cross inline. So the first function, as I said, is database query. That's gonna have, it's gonna give us, or it's gonna perform for us the database query, for example, getting data from a database or from a data table. The next parameter will be, of course, again, cross inline, an API call. So the API call, that will be performed as a remote data source. And this API call, of course, it is a suspending function, and it will give us a request. The next parameter, it's going to be, again, a cross inline function. It will allow us to save API call results. So this is the callback function that's going to allow us to save the API call in our, for example, in our database. So I'm going to call it save API call results. So it's going to take in parameter, again, it's going to be a suspending function because it comes from an API, and it will give us void as a unit return type. The next parameter, we will test if we should fetch the data or not. So to enhance, again, the caching strategy, we have to add here another function that's going to allow us to test if we have to fetch the data, if we need to fetch the data from the API or not. For example, if we are running out of the data or running out of cache, in this case, we have to fetch the data to get more data. Or, for example, we notice that this, for example, this product that we have, that we got from the local database is outdated. So we're going to fetch the data if we have, for example, updated the products from the API, and the other case, which is if for example, all the requests are up to date, we want to fetch the data from the API. So this gonna be should fetch. It will have parameter. So the parameter will be of type request from the API, and as a return type, it has to be a Boolean. And let's give it the value, a default value of true. So if you didn't specify this should fetch condition, always this function is going to retrieve data from the API. So we have to test if we have successfully executed or got data from an API. So it's the purpose of this fifth parameter, which is on API call success, what we have to perform, unit, and the other way around, which is on API call failed. So it's going to be cross inline on API call failed. In this case, we should have a throwable as an error and a return type of unit. And here I have to do, it's not mandatory, so I'm going to give it an empty train lambda. And here it's not mandatory to do or to use. It's going to be an optional parameter. So now what will this function return? So the function will return a channel flow. So the channel flow will create a cold flow. Basically in Kotlin, there are two types of flow, cold and hot flow. The cold flow will produce the stream of data in demand. We call it a lazy stream. A hot flow, on the other hand, provides an eager stream. It will continue to emit data even there is no consumers. So here I'm going to opt for a channel flow. So first of all, we will store the database query in the data, and we're going to get only the first elements or the first snapshots because it's a flow. So now we have the data from the database. Now we're going to test if we should fetch data. So if should fetch, take in parameter request, so data. Otherwise, what we have to do in the, sorry here, should fetch, it's not request, but it's results, not request. So if we have to fetch data, so here we're going to do what is the algorithm. So basically we will save API call plus we will call on API call success, and that's pretty much it. And we are going to construct the flow as a result. So in case of we don't have to fetch the data, what we will do database query that collect. So we're going to collect the data. So I hope you understood the algorithm. So if we don't have to fetch the data, so in this case, what we will do, we'll get only the data from the database. So in this case, what we have to do, database query, and we're going to collect the data, of course, or the stream. And for every result, we are going to send it to the flow. So we can construct the flow, and this time it's gonna be a resource dot success, and the data, it will be it as a result. And the result, of course, it's the database query or the database result from the query. Now, in case we should fetch the data, so basically we're going to call or perform an API call, and we are going to save the data to our local database. So what we are going to do here, I'm going to remove this comment. So I'm going to create a job. I'm gonna call it loading. That's gonna hold for us the this job that we will perform here. The job is database query, and we are going to collect the data, and we will send the data, or we will send, we're going to emit some data to the channel flow with the resource or resource.loadIn. And if you have noticed in the resource class, the loadIn can have data as an optional parameter, which means perhaps in your application, you can, while fetching the data from the internet, you can still show some data to the user while fetching data from the internet. And once you have the updated data, then you can save them to the API and show them to the user. So this is basically why we have sent here the event resource.loadIn with the data is it, and the it, which is a result. Okay, so afterwards, we will surround this block with try catch to handle the both cases. If we have successfully called an API, or we have successfully performed an API call, or the API call failed. So in case of successfully calling an API, first of all, we will save API call results. So this function will take in a parameter, an API call function. And here we have forgot to add a request. And what else we're going to do on API call success. So perhaps you're going to perform something when you have successfully performed an API call. Afterwards, we're going to cancel the job loading, or then we will collect. So database query collect to send an event to the channel with a resource of type success. So I'm going to do collect, and I will send resource of success with data is it, and the data, and there's no parentheses here. So that's pretty much it. Of course, it's from the a result, as you can see here. Now, in case of any error during API call, what we have to do. So first of all, I'm going to create an exception or a throwable of type throwable. If the API call failed, first of all, I'm going to call on API call failed with a throwable as a parameter. And I'm going to cancel, of course, the job, because we are no longer talking about a loading state here. So cancel, and we have to send, of course, we will collect again from the database. Why we have to collect the data again from the database? As I said before, in the resource file, in the resource data class, even if we are, for example, facing some problems when fetching data from the API, we can still show some data as optional data to the user from the database. So this is basically what we are going to do here. So it will be database query dot collect with no parentheses, and inside I'm going to send an event. The event will be resource of type failure or error with the data equal it. So that's pretty much it. So I'm going to recap the network bound resource. So it will be an inline function. Inline function will inherit or enhance the performance of Lambda functions. And it has two type parameters or generic types. The first, which is result, consists of a result from the database, and a request, it consists of a request from the API or to the API. So we are using the cross inline keyword. For example, I'm going to create here a function. I'm going to call it test. I'm going to call network bound resource, and let's do, for example, should fetch. The main purpose from using cross inline, it will allow us to benefit from inline function. So it is, of course, an inline function. Should fetch, it's an inline function, but with a plus feature that it will allow us to, if we want to, for example, do an early return here, we will do return at a label, but we can't use only a return without a null return keyword. So this is basically the purpose of using cross inline, and it will take in parameter the database query. So the database query, which is the performed function or the request or the query from the database, from local database. For example, selecting in our case, selecting the TV shows. The next parameter, it is API call. So the API call, again, it will have, it is a suspending function. For example, requesting the list of TV shows from the remote data source or from the API. And it has to return a request, which is, in our case, a DTO, for example. So save API call results. This will allow us to save our API call in our local database. It will be a suspending function, and it will have in parameter a request, which is from the API and without a return type. And should fetch, it's the condition that it's going to allow us to, for example, allow the developer to have or to find a better caching strategy for caching the data. I'm gonna give a small example. If we, for example, let's say we have 20 TV shows, and those 20 TV shows are up to date. So in this case, we don't have to fetch data from the API. We will directly from the database, not from the API. Otherwise, we will perform, for example, some updates. Then we will show to the user the lists of the TV shows from the database. So it will have in parameter results from the database, and it will give us a return type of Boolean. And this function is not mandatory, so you don't have to implement it. By default, it's gonna be, it will always always fetch data from API. So, and moreover, this parameter, we won't implement it for now in this tutorial. Fifth function, which is on API call success. This will be executed after we have successfully, if you want to, for example, do some task after successfully calling the API, you can do it inside this Lambda function. And the last one, which is if the API call has failed. In this case, we want to, for example, do something. This is the purpose of this function, and it will have in parameter a throwable. So this function will return a channel flow. Basically, in Kotlin, we have two types of flow: cold flow and hot flow. The cold flow will produce the stream of data in demand. So it has to have a consumer. So the cold flow will produce the stream of data. We call it lazy stream. And on the other hand, the hot flow will always emit data, and we are calling it eager stream, by the way. It will always emit or it will continue to emit data even there is no consumers, which means that there is no listeners for this stream. In this case, we're going to use a channel flow, which is a cold flow. So inside we have, of course, to construct this flow. First of all, we're going to get the data from the API. We have to get the data or the first snapshots from the database query, because database query, it's a flow with results. The results is from the database. We have two cases. If we have to fetch data from the API or not. So for the first one, if we should fetch the data from the API, what we have to do, we're going to create a loading job. It's going to give us the state of loading. If let's say we have finished collecting the data from the database from, for example, executing a query. In this case, we're going to store this job in this value. And here we're going to call the API call. So the API call it's gonna perhaps rise an exception. In case of everything is working fine, what we have to do, we will save the API to database, or the API result to the database. We will call the function on API call success, and we will do here, we will cancel the job. So basically we are done loading. Lastly, we will send the data to be consumed as a resource of type success with the it, which is a result. So the result, as I said, it's from the API, which means basically you can use the data from the success. And under the hood, for example, if we want to, while executing an API call, instead of showing, for example, a progress indicator to the user, we want to show the old data from the database while loading or while fetching the data from the API. Once we are done finishing fetching data from the API, the view of the user will be updated with the new data. Now, on the other hand, if we have any exception, we will call on API call failed with the throwable. We will cancel the job because the operation is done, and we will send another resource type, which is resource.error. With the same principle, we are fetching the data from the API. We will show the user the old data. In case of error, we are not having any data or new data from the API. The user won't notice. Perhaps we're going to send a toast or a snack bar as a result, or as a alert message, and the user will still be able to see the old data. So technically speaking, we're going to send a new event with a resource.error with it as a data, and here we have data as nullable or optional in the error class. So we can show the data to the user even if we have an error. So this is pretty much it. So if we don't have to fetch the data from the API, simply we're going to send an event to the channel flow with the type resource.success with the data collected from the API, the data collected from the database. So this is basically the idea behind network bound resource. If I have missed something, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not the one who has built this function. Perhaps I'm missing some features behind this. Anyway, what I want to say is one of the most important parameters in this function is should-fetch. This will allow the caching strategies to be more flexible and more intelligent. Should-fetch should be implemented in a way that we're going to not always we have to perform an API call. So we're going to use this function in our context. So I'm going to create a new use case. We will use basically this network bound resource function to cache a single request, which is the detail of a TV show. So this use case will handle this function. It will handle this task. We're gonna call it get cached TV show detail. So I'm going to create so it's gonna be a private val repository. So it's gonna be operator function invoke with an ID of type long. So this function will return. Okay, first of all, I'm going to add this function to the list of the TV show repository. So function get cached TV show detail. It will take in parameter ID of the TV show, and it will return a flow of resource of TV show detail. So I'm going just to write a small description for this function. Get the cached TV show detail from database in accordance with API, or just from a database. That's pretty much it. We don't have to do anything else. So a parameter ID of type long, and it will return, as I said, flow of resource of TV show detail. So let's come back to the get cached TV show detail. Here it's gonna be flow of type, okay, let's import flow, resource of TV show detail. So this function will return repository dot get cached TV show and ID equal ID. So that's pretty much it. Let's come back to the get TV show use cases. I'm going to add it here, value get cached TV show detail, and let's come back to the app module, get cached detail or get cached TV show detail. It will be get with the repository equal repository. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the implementation inside data repository, and I will implement the new member. So this function will return a flow. So directly we will do return, and inside here I'm going to do network bound resource, and we have to specify the parameters. So the first parameter will be the database query. So the database query that's going to fetch the data or the initial data from the database will be TV show DAO dot get. So now we are talking not the list of TV shows, but we are talking about the single. So we're going to get the TV show with detail. So it will be get TV show. So of course we didn't implement this function from in the database. I'm going to go back to the local package DAO, and I have to create a function that will perform this query. So pretty much I'm going to add some functions here in order to get done with the TV show DAO. So first of all, I'm going to create a function that will give us get TV show detail. Okay, it will be of course a transaction because we are going to use the relationship and a query. So the query will be simply select everything from TV show table where the ID equal ID as a parameter. So it will be a flow. So we're not going to use a suspending function. Get TV show detail. So ID equal of type long, and it will give us a flow with the relationship that we have created before. TV show detail. Okay, so TV show with detail. So I think that's the only function that we are going to need. So here I'm going to do TV show DAO dot, so TV show dot get TV show detail, and the ID will be the ID, and we have to map the element TV show detail. So this is the first parameter, or this is the first parameter database query. Now the other parameter, what is the API call to perform? So the API call will be a suspending function. It will be simply API dot get TV show detail with ID equal ID. So as a reminder, this is get TV show. We have created it. We have defined it for the so the definition of get TV show detail for retrofit. The one that we're not going to, for the simplicity of this tutorial, we're not going to do should fetch and other parameters. We're going only here to add the save API call result. So the method is going to allow us to save result to our database from an API call. So save API call result, and the other, as you can see here, they are not mandatory. In this, as you can see here in the as highlighted, it is a type of TV show detail DTO, and it's nullable. So I'm going to do it. If it's not null, I'm going to add here a parameter TV show detail DTO. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to insert the data to the database. So I will do TV show DAO dot insert TV show detail. So insert TV show detail. It will be here a TV show detail entity, and we have to provide the TV show ID, which is the ID. What else? The URL will be TV show DTO that we have obtained from the API call. That's URL. Again, premiered will be TV show DTO that's premiered. Official site will be TV show detail official site, and summary will be TV show detail DTO that's summary. So we are created now the TV show detail entity, and we are saving it to the database. What we have to do afterwards, we need to insert the actors, and we have to insert the TV show person cross-reference to allow our relationship to work correctly. So I'm going to do here val persons entity or entities. Okay, person entities. It will be simply TV show detail DTO that's embedded, that's cast, that we're going to map the element, going to call here a parameter. I'm going to call it simply response or something like that. Response, and the response dot person dot to person entity. So now we have the list of person entities. Next, we will insert those actors to our database. So I have to add here another DAO, private val person DAO database dot person DAO, and here I'm going to do person DAO, insert persons and persons equal person entities. The last method that we will have to do, we have to, again, as the relationship is many-to-many relationship between TV shows and persons, we have to insert the TV show person cross-reference. So it's gonna be TV show DAO, that's insert TV show person cross-reference, and the cross-reference will be the person entities. We will map each element, and each element here is gonna be person entity. So it will be TV show person cross-reference with the TV show ID equal the ID, and the person ID equal person entity dot person ID. So that's pretty much it for the function get cached TV show detail from cache. So I'm going to add, just to make our application a little bit rich with functionalities, I'm going to add a new entity. It's gonna be called bookmarks. It's gonna be simple. So the bookmark entity will have in a parameter ID. I'm gonna add here auto generate to true, and it's gonna be nullable with a default value equal null. And I will add another column, which is TV show ID, and I'm going to add some parameters here. So first of all, table name will be bookmarks table from the constant file that we have created before, and I will put here an indices, only one index, which is TV show ID, unique equal for true. So this is the entity. First of all, we have to go to the database definition. I will increment the version of the database to 2, and I will add bookmark entity, and I will create here a DAO for this bookmark. It's going to be bookmark DAO, and I will add it to the list of DAOs here, abstract function, bookmark DAO. So we are done with the ROM database definition. So first of all, we have to insert a bookmark. I'm going to do here insert bookmark. So it will have in parameter bookmark entity. On conflict strategy will be, instead of replace, it will be ignore, and we'll give the result, it will be along. Why? Because we want to test if the function is being executed successfully or not, which means that if the bookmark is inserted, it's gonna give us the inserted ID, otherwise it's gonna give us -1. The second parameter that I have to, or the second function that I will do, delete bookmark. So I'm going to perform delete bookmark ID, and the query, it will be delete from the table bookmarks, where the TV show ID equal the ID that we have provided as a parameter. And the last function to show a real update to the user by testing if the bookmark or the TV show belongs to the list of bookmarks or not. So it's going to be query, and this function, it will be called in bookmarks. It will reflect in real time. So of course in a parameter, as a parameter, it will be ID of type long, and it will reflect in real time if the bookmark is the TV show in list of bookmarks or not. So the SQL query to do that, it will be select exist, and here I will do another query, select everything from bookmarks table, where TV show ID equal ID. So inside again the TV show repository, I will add some functions here. The first function will be add or remove TV show bookmark. It will be for both ways. It will toggle between add or remove the TV show from or to bookmarks. So I'm going to adjust a small description here. That's pretty much it. And this function, of course, it has to be a suspending function. The last function will be to test if we have the TV show in bookmarks or not. So it will be in bookmarks. So as usual, it will be a TV show ID of type long. So here I'm going to add flow of Boolean. So that's pretty much it. Those functions will be added to use cases, because the user will interact with the use cases. Add or remove TV show bookmark. It will be a private val repository, TV show repository. And it will be suspending function, operator, invoke of type TV show ID of type long. And it will have no parameters. So it will be repository that add or remove TV show bookmark with TV show equal TV show. That's the first one. Second one, or the last one, will be here class. It's going to be called in bookmarks, private val repository, operator invoke, function invoke, TV show ID of type long. It will give us a flow of Boolean. So this will return repository dot in bookmarks, and TV show ID will be TV show ID. So I'm going to add those last use cases val. So the first one will be add or remove TV show bookmark, and val in bookmark. That's it. Let's come back to the app module, or add or remove TV show bookmark equal add with repository equal repository. The other one, which is in bookmark. So we are done with the use cases. Let's implement those new members. So for the implementation of add or remove TV show bookmark, so I'm going to test if it's inserted. So if the operation basically is successfully been executed. So it's going to be bookmark. Again, I have to do here another DAO, private val bookmark equal database dot bookmark DAO, and I will do bookmark DAO dot insert bookmark, and bookmark will be constructed as follow: entity and ID equal bookmark or TV show ID. Here we're going to do here TV show ID equal TV show ID, because bookmark entity, the ID is nullable and it has default value of null. So if it's inserted equal -1, we will delete bookmark, and with TV show equal TV show ID. So that's pretty much it. I think here without TV show ID, just ID. If it's inserted equal -1L, which means that we already have that particular TV show in bookmark, so we will delete the bookmark. Otherwise, we will insert the TV show in the bookmark. So that's pretty much it for the add or remove TV show bookmark. The last one will be to test if it is in bookmark. So we will do return bookmark DAO in bookmarks with ID equal TV show ID, and that's pretty much it. So we are done implementing the repository. Let's come back to the first of all, the first screen, which is home screen. It's gonna be intact. Not going to update anything on this particular screen. We have to update the screen TV show detail screen as well as the view model. Instead of using the method get TV show detail so basically from the API, we will use get cached TV show detail. So we will just make some minor changes here. So we're no longer going to use this line of code. We have in this particular case two jobs that we have to launch. The first job is to get cached TV show detail, and the second job to test if the TV show belongs to the bookmark table or not. So the first job will be launch, and here, because we want to do them separately, so TV show use cases and get, in this case, get cached TV show detail. So with an ID, and we're going to collect the data. So it will be TV show detail state dot value equal, going to add here resource dot data, and here I'm going to, instead of do at the end is loading equal false, I will do is loading dot value equal false. So the second job will be, so we are inside, so the second job here will be to test if the TV show belongs to the list of bookmarks or not. So I'm going to add a new observable that's going to handle this state for us. It will be mutable state flow. I'm going to call it in bookmarks state. So it will be simply a Boolean with a default value of false. So I will do here TV show use cases dot in bookmarks, and what I have to provide here as a parameter, an ID or a TV show ID equal the ID. This is the TV show ID, and I'm going to collect the stream. Here we no longer have to add the parameter. It's gonna be only in bookmarks that value equal is equal it. That's pretty much it. Or to be more explicit, it has to be bookmarked or is bookmarked. Is bookmarked. So this is more understandable. That's pretty much it. Now we have to add just one function for this view model to allow the user to toggle or to add or remove a TV show from the list of bookmark. So it's gonna be a function add, or I'm too lazy to do it. I will, where is it? So it will be add or remove bookmark. So we have to provide TV show ID type long. So it will be with the use case that we have implemented. So of course we have to launch it inside the course in scope, and it will be TV show use cases dot add or remove bookmarks with TV show ID equal TV show ID. So that's pretty much it for the view model. Let's see if we have anything here that we don't need. I think that's pretty much it. Let's come back to the TV show detail home screen. So I noticed here some flaws during the previous episode. I have to change during loading. Going to fix it with a box. I'm gonna copy everything. So gonna do modifier dot fill max size with content alignment dot top center. I hope it's gonna work. So the other observable that I have to create here in bookmarks, I'm going to add bookmarks afterward. So we have is loading, TV show detail, and another in bookmarks by view model in bookmark state collect as state. If we have loaded successfully the TV show detail, what we have to do, we have to put underneath in the top bar, we have the leading icon button as a back button, and the other one will be trailing icon. The trail icon, I'm going to create it afterward. It's gonna be a bookmark. I'm gonna call it bookmark button. So the composable bookmark button, it's gonna be it's gonna have whether it's bookmarked or not. So it will be in bookmarks equal in bookmarks. And we have to perform, of course, once clicking on this button, we have to add or remove the TV show from the bookmark or add it to bookmark. So I'm going to call it on click. So basically this function is going to be from the view model, add or remove TV show bookmark, and TV show ID equal, here it will be equal, and we have to provide here the for the ID it will be TV show dot ID. Now let's write this composable. It's going to be called bookmark button. So inside components, so inside UI components, I will create a new composable. Let's call it bookmark button. As we said before, this bookmark button, it's gonna have a parameter. It's called in bookmarks, which is not in bookmark use cases. Boolean. And let's customize the button size. And as we did before, on click. So I'm going just to move on click at the top. On click, it will be unit, and that's pretty much it. I'm going to first of all create the card to be to represent the button. So it will be a card with a modifier. It will modifier equal modifier, and it will be it says clickable role equal role dot button, and here I'm going to perform on click. So for the elevation, I'm gonna give it 6. I'm gonna give it 8 dp. Background color. So here just for customization purposes. So I'm going to do if import dp. So if it's a system, just to handle, I don't know if it's the correct way or not, but just to handle initially the dark theme and the light theme, is system dark theme. In case of system dark theme, I'm going to do surface color, and the color of surface color is as follow, this particular color. So if system in dark theme, it's gonna be this color. Otherwise, it will be material theme dot colors dot surface. This is how I have done it, but perhaps there is a better way. So for the shape, it will be rounded corner shape, and the size, let's give it 50 dp. So this is basically the card, and inside the card we will put our icon. So the icon will be, first of all, the painter. It will be painter resource. So in this ID we have to choose if we there is a bookmark, or the TV show in bookmark. We're going to show this particular drawable in bookmark, it's going to be bookmark solid. Otherwise, it will be bookmark regular. So here I'm going to do if in bookmarks, it's going to be r dot drawable dot bookmark solid. So first of all, I have to import the R object. So bookmark solid. Otherwise, it will be so R dot drawable dot bookmark regular. Next, we have to set the content description to empty string. And for the tent, it will be for both themes, material theme, dot colors, dot primary. Now let's control a little bit the size of the icon. So I'm going to do here a modifier dot not the size, sorry, but the padding. Let's give all equal 8 dp. Let's say this: if the TV show is not in bookmark, so we're going to add it to the bookmark, the size of the icon will be increased slightly. Otherwise, it will be shrinked slightly. So it's very easy in Jetpack Compose. I'm going just to create here a value. It's going to be called animated size. So there is a helper function that's going to do this job for us. So it will be by animate or animated dp as size. So we have to specify the target value. So before doing that, I'm going to add another parameter called button size to control the size of the button. It will be dp, and I'm gonna give it 24 dp as initial value. So we have to specify, as I said, the target. So if the TV show inside belongs to the bookmarks, we will do button size that we have provided plus just 3 dp to make it a little bit bigger. So otherwise, it will be just the button size that we have as a default size. Now let's specify the animation specs. So there is multiple animation specs that you can choose from. We're going just to do tween. So the duration, it's going to be a little bit fast, 200 milliseconds. And the ease-in will be fast. There are multiple parameters or options to choose from as well. So I'm going just to choose fast out linear in ease-in. So if you are interested in animations, we can do a full course for that. Let me know in the comments below. So we have declared here how to animate the size of the button. Next, simply in the modifier of the icon, of course, not for the card, we will add here size, and the size of the button will be size, and it is the animated size. So that's pretty much it. Let's go back to the TV show detail screen. And we have imported the button. We have to remove here a comma. So I think that's pretty much it. Let's launch our application. Let's see. We have done and we have implemented correctly the previous parts, except that there is some flaws that it's not important for this tutorial. So now we are going to click, let's see, for example, Hell's Kitchen. Okay, we still have that flaw. So basically let's test first of all. So we have the TV show. So now what we will do, let's test first of all the capability of offline mode. So I'm going to enter or switch off the Wi-Fi. I'm gonna come back and let's see if we have saved correctly the data. Great. So we do have the TV show from, as I said, from the database. Let's see other TV shows. So we are loading it from the cache. The same thing as this one, because we don't have the summary as well as cast members, because we haven't executed the function during online mode. But when we are in online mode, we're going to retrieve this data for a later use. As you can see here in the, not this one, in this Hell's Kitchen, we have all the as offline as online mode. So we have only one source of data as a single source of truth. And let's add this TV show to the list of bookmarks. So you have seen a small animation there. Let's remove it from the bookmarks. Another small animation to make it a little bit smaller. I'm gonna add it to bookmarks to leave it there. What I have to change basically is the loading indicator. Okay, as a solution, I will remove vertical arrangements center, and I will remove as well as this top bar from the box. And what else? And this box again. So we have everything here in the top. The thing that I have to do, I'm going to run again the application and let's see. Let's go back to the online mode. Let's load, for example, some data for the first element. So for a later use. So I think that we have correctly solved the problem. Let's come back to the offline mode. Let's go back. Let's see the first Kirby buckets. So we have the list, the summary, as well as the list of cast members. Let's go back to the Hell's Kitchen. And we have bookmarked, of course, the TV show. And we are successfully, now, by the way, we are in offline mode. We can see some detail or some information. And for the rest, we don't have the, as I said, the summary and cast, because we didn't execute the network bound resource yet, because now we are getting only the data from the database. As if we haven't implemented that function, what we will see here, as you have seen in the previous episodes, the TV show does not exist or something like that. So basically an error message. But in this case, even we have an error, we're still able to load data from the database to show it to the user. And in the end, you can add a snack bar message or a toast message to the user showing the error message. So I think that we are done with this tutorial. So in this tutorial, you have learned how to get or to use pagination from a remote data source, as well as a local data source in accordance with API calls. You have seen as a bonus how to cache the data using a special function that we have created that's going to coordinate the API call and saving data to a local database. And you have seen how to implement use cases in clean architecture. I hope I was helpful. I'm glad, and it's been a pleasure to share with you my knowledge. See you in the next one, and bye-bye.